Hi, good morning. We're here with Simon Cotton from the HRH Group in Harrogate. How are you doing, Simon?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks, Mike.
Good stuff. So if you could get us started then this morning and just give us a little bit of an introduction as to a bit more about who you are, what it is that you do at HRH and how long you've been there, please.
I'm Simon Cotton. I'm the managing director of HRH Group. I've been with the business almost 7 years now. Been in hospitality all my life. I left school at 16 on a Friday afternoon. I started working at a local hotel on a Monday morning, so I had the weekend off. None of these gap years for me. And
Straight in.
yeah, straight in and worked all my life in hospitality. Love it. Don't know, wouldn't know what else to do in life if I didn't do this. But yeah, it's been an interesting journey with not that many businesses. I'm probably a little bit rare that in hospitality it's known for high turnover of staff and people changing jobs regularly. And whilst I've done many jobs in different hotels and different positions, I've actually, I think this is only my third or actually fourth employer in sort of 36 years, 35 years in the industry. So it's I'm a little bit rare in that sense.
Fantastic. So you're a very loyal person when it comes to working with
Absolutely.
the hotels. Excellent. So what is it that got you to HRH Group then? What kind of sparked that path?
Um, so as I said, I started in hotels at 16, just in a very operational role. I was fortunate, I didn't feel it at the time, but I was fortunate to have a quite a severe back injury, which took me out of operations, and I went and helped in the sales office because I needed to sit in a chair for a bit while I recuperated from a back injury at the age of 18, 19. And suddenly found a passion for sales. And so, whilst I've been a hotelier all my life, I often see myself as a salesperson, a salesman, really at heart. And sort of took to that like a duck to water, really, and realised I was quite good at selling and had a natural knack for it. So I went down that route and spent many years and developed through into being a sales manager, sales and marketing manager, revenue manager for different hotels within two different groups, and got moved around. When I was in my early 30s, the world was changing. So hotel general managers had traditionally always come from a food and beverage background. So you naturally went through the restaurants, food and beverage areas to restaurant manager, to F&B manager, to operations manager, to become a general manager. And that was sort of pretty much the world of the 80s and 90s. As we turned the century, the world was changing quite rapidly, and revenue management, sales and finance was starting to take over really running businesses. And we all know accountants run the world. And whilst I've never got into accountancy, certainly being savvy with numbers made a difference. And I worked for a national chain at the time and challenged them really that they had a fast track program for general managers who only invited the operations managers to go and sit on that assessment centre and become the next GMs. And I said, well, I'm a sales and marketing revenue manager for a hotel. Why can't I sit on the group and give me a chance? And I went and I did quite well and got on that group and then became a general manager pretty soon after. So I just wanted to get a more all-rounded approach to running a hospitality business. Did that for a number of years, then became multi-site manager with Cedar Court Hotels. Was with them for nearly 14 years altogether. And then the opportunity with the sale of that business back in 2017, the opportunity came to leave them during that sale as part of that process. And Philip Barker, who owns the HRH Group, had been tapping me up for a while saying, come and join us, come and join us. And I kept saying no over a couple of years, but that seemed the right time. So I joined as managing director of HRH back in 2017.
Excellent. So in terms of HRH and see how competitive the hospitality industry is. What makes you guys kind of stand out from other operators in the sector?
I think it's being an independent
Mhm.
really does make a difference for us. So not being in that typically corporate world and chain and national chain that I've worked with before, I
Mhm.
think makes a huge difference. Allows us to challenge things, change direction more quickly, take greater risks at the drop of a hat. So I think that helps. And ultimately, our people, there's no question. Hospitality is all about people.
Yeah.
It allows us to, um, seek out, find, employ, retain and develop some amazing people. And we do have some fantastic people in our business, there's no question. And we pay well, and if they're loyal to us, we show that loyalty back to them, there's no question. And, to say they get well rewarded, they're expected to work hard, but we work hard, play hard is definitely our mentality. And the people really make the difference to this business.
It sounds like a culture kind of USP, I suppose,
Yeah,
within what you do.
very much so. I mean, people come into hospitality businesses. It's not about how many bedrooms a hotel has or how many seats in a restaurant. The lovely wallpaper behind me. How
Yeah.
thick your curtains are, how soft your beds are. I mean, all those sorts of things add something. But the key factor in hospitality is the people, and it's what the customers come back for time and time again. I think we all know that, simply if you go into a restaurant and you're recognized and you're welcomed as somebody who's been before, you love it. It makes people feel, a foot taller.
Yeah.
And if they're recognized, so if we can hang on to people and have a longer retention of our key people than an average hospitality business does, that has an impact on the customer service, and it makes us stand out and be a winner, in my opinion.
Fantastic. Is that a performance indicator then that you measure yourselves on?
We do. I mean, we don't drill down too far in terms of performance indicators. We do in some KPIs, but say we don't get too hung up on it like some of the corporate companies who spend hours, days, weeks, and
Yeah.
they're employing people just to look at numbers and try and produce graphs to say let's see this trend and that trend, and how
Yeah.
can we tweak this and tweak that. We do it, I suppose, more, if the word's organically, and you just more naturally, as opposed to wasting time, staring at creating paperwork and
Yeah.
graphs that look pretty and try and do it that way. We're much more about being hands-on and living in the moment and
Great.
doing it that way. And ultimately, if you know whether somebody's doing a good job and they're with you for a long time, that's a good thing. You don't need
Great.
a graph to tell you. So.
Good stuff. I like that. Thank you for sharing that. So, in terms of your business journey and starting at 2017 at HRH Group, or business journey with HRH, how would you describe it in one word? And obviously, we're covering quite a few changes over the last years and impacts in the hospitality sector.
One word, fun.
And then
Yeah,
expand on the
yeah,
fun.
the fun. It's been an amazing journey. So joining in 17, 18, 19, we bought in 2018, we bought the hotel I'm sat in today, the Yorkshire Hotel, particularly rundown hotel, but we targeted that. Was one of the reasons I came on board. Philip shared a vision that he wanted, this hotel was coming on the market and we wanted to buy it and develop it. And it was basically the worst hotel in Harrogate, but in the best location. And that is key in our business. Location is very much about where you are in the footfall and going past the front doors. So that was a major journey in terms of taking this big property on and turning it round from a really poor performing, underperforming, underinvested in, to be fair to the team that were here at the time. It wasn't necessarily their fault. It just lost its way and been really underinvested in. So We pumped a good few million quid into it and completely turned it on its head. Grew revenues by sort of 250% over a couple of years, and then we hit COVID. And obviously everybody knows the fun times, and particularly hospitality, the impact. Many companies, obviously everybody had to change, but lots of companies could go and work from home, and they sent their employees home. If you worked in an office, the business still, many companies continued to operate. Hospitality couldn't. We literally had to shut our doors. So that was the most amazing and exciting time. And I look back on COVID times as being an awful lot of fun. I mean, obviously you wouldn't choose it, you wouldn't have it. It was an awful thing for the planet, for the world, for people. But in terms from a business point of view, it allowed us to reflect on what we'd achieved over the previous couple of years and what we wanted to achieve. It allowed us to relook at investment plans, and it allowed us to try a few things that we'd not done before. So and do things differently, and be a bit more creative. So, I look back on the sort of couple of years of COVID as being a fantastic time for our business. Say it was a worrying time, but it really was a great time of learning, and allowed us to do things differently.
Working on the business as opposed to in it, to take that step back a bit.
Yeah, definitely.
When things can go again, how do we do it better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd not, I said to a lot of people, I don't think I'd worked so hard in years, because I worked 7 days a week for much of it. I didn't do furlough. Most of our staff were obviously furloughed. 99% of them, there was literally a few of us in the business. So you were looking at marketing opportunities through the evenings. I was, through the day, I should say. We were looking at the finances and trying to work out how we paid bills, but also get money in where we could. We launched a takeaway. So, come the evenings, I was out, delivering burgers, which people loved. The managing director of a business in town turning up with some burgers and fish and chips at their door.
Great PR.
Yeah, well, it was, and actually, what that did for us in social media terms was enormous. And I say we learned. We always knew that social media was great in terms of connecting and being in touch with your customers and sending messages out all the time. But we learned an awful lot of how to develop that and what good it was doing to us. Whether it sold another portion of fish and chips was, by the by. It was about when we reopened between each of the lockdowns, we were busier than ever because we never lost touch with our customers, and we realised that gave us an advantage on some of our competitors who literally had shut their doors, turned everything off, and said, "Well, we'll be back when we're back." Whereas we were talking to and working and communicating all the way through, and as I say, that gave us an advantage, I think.
Great reflection again on the culture and the way that's been led through that. So I like that. Thank you. So what does the future look like for you guys then? What do you see as the main challenges going ahead from this point, and opportunities?
I think the biggest challenges for our industry are margin. And I guess that could be said for a number of different industries and businesses, but hospitality has been hit by the increase in energy prices. Everybody knows, again, that's hitting a number of businesses, but hospitality, hotels they use an awful lot of energy. There's no question about that. Food prices, we've seen obviously what's happening around the world. It really does impact on our business. So just simple things like grain coming out of Ukraine and the impact that rolls up to on food prices it's enormous. Oil, all those sorts of things. So margins have been squeezed this year. Just this month we've seen the national minimum wage and living wage go up considerably. The fact that it's also brought in another 2 years worth of employees, so the change from 23-year-olds down to 21-year-olds.
Mhm.
You know, hospitality employs an awful lot of young people. So the impact of that pay increase is significant on our business, and that's eating into what ultimately are already tight margins. So that doesn't say, you know, whilst energy costs are coming down, food costs thankfully are starting to come down reasonably well now. They are of concern going forward, especially with world events. You know, we seem to leap from one crisis to another.
Yeah.
And you know, those you know, major world events do have an immediate impact, you know, on hospitality. It changes our business very quickly
Mhm.
and switches things off and switches things back on again at the touch of a button. So, you know, it's not like having a factory where you've already produced so much stock, you may be carrying so much stock. You know, you're buying certain things in advance. You know, we're buying food on a weekly basis, on a daily
Sure.
basis.
Yeah.
You know, things change very rapidly in hospitality, so you've always got to be on the lookout of what's happening around the corner. So yeah, always a challenge, but we like challenges.
Keeps it fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. So, and with all that experience that you've had, um, through the times that we've talked about, what's the biggest lesson that you've learned along the way?
Um, Biggest lesson. I think certainly with HRH Group and becoming an MD as opposed to just sort of running one hotel at a time. Certainly,
Mhm.
more senior you get, the more people you deal with. One thing I've learned in the last few years is you don't. I'm very competitive, and I don't like to lose an argument. But I've definitely learned in recent years that you don't have to win every battle. I used to be somebody who would, you know, want to
Go the distance.
go the distance right to the end. Yeah, very much. Whereas I have learned that sometimes, even if it feels wrong, sometimes it's not a bad thing to just give in and let something go that you really, really want, because actually there's a better goal at the end of it. So yeah, you don't always have to win every time. Actually, it's winning in the long term that really matters.
Mhm. Win-win for both parties.
Yeah, yeah. So sometimes you do have to just let things go, whether that be with a customer, whether it be a member of the team.
Mhm.
As I say, it's you know, it's looking at always the longer term and the bigger picture and what it means to your business. And
Sure.
I've backed down a few times in more recent years, whereas historically I wouldn't have. That's for sure.
Changing the character traits a little bit.
Yes.
Good stuff. Thank you for that. So, in terms of any advice for somebody starting out in this
Um,
business, what would
I
you give them?
suppose have a clear vision of what you're trying to achieve and where you know what you're wanting to do.
Mhm.
But at the same time, don't be afraid to change direction. You know, that's something, as I said at the beginning of this interview, that being an independent, you know, we're not afraid to. We can change direction very quickly, and we often do. We will make decisions. I often say that working for HRH Group, I spend Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you know, going left, and on a
Mhm.
Friday morning we get up and we go right. Let's go right. You know, let's just change tact on this. It's and we do that a lot here, and it can be a bit frustrating. But it's about not being afraid to think,
Mhm.
actually, this isn't working, or there is a better approach to something. So I would say to people, you know, don't be too hard line and say, well, I set out a plan and I'm going to stick to it.
Mhm.
If there's a better opportunity, a better solution, um, I would say take risks. Always have a safety net, but take risks and don't be afraid to change direction at any point.
Great stuff. And is that what inspires you to do what you do, to have that kind of differentiation in your work and taking risks, or is there anything else that you use for inspiration?
Well, people inspire me. The other thing I'd probably say about advice to other people, but also it fits into inspiration is get out there, meet people. I suppose I'm lucky. Hospitality is very much a people business, so but get out, talk to people, go to the. My philosophy is go to the opening of an envelope. I really, if you get invited somewhere. To go and see what else is going on in the world, or an opening of something, go. However busy your diary is, you never know who's going to be there. You never know who you're going to meet. And talking to people, uh, you know, people hold the answers to everything, and if you just chat to people, it's amazing what you learn along the way, and how many people, talking to other business leaders, business operators, people within our industry, and you just pick up those little nuggets of information. And I always find that very inspiring. And also the youth of today, I think extremely inspiring. I've got two sons now who are both working, a 23-year-old and a 20-year-old, and they inspire me every day because they're fantastic boys, and they've grown up and seen that hard work pays off. I think that there's, some of the youth get a little bit of a bad rap in terms of this entitlement. That we've got a generation that's coming into the world that's saying they're a bit entitled. Some of them maybe, but certainly I think that many of them are truly inspiring. They've got a different outlook in terms of what they want out of life, in terms of experience. That to me is quite inspiring.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's only where the consciousness goes. If you want to focus on the negative, you can see the negative, but there's got to be plenty of positive out there going on.
100%. And I've definitely taken that. People often ask me a question: is your glass half full or half empty? And I say I'm just grateful to have a glass in my hand. And
yeah, the best answer on that one I think I've heard.
Yeah, well, I think if you've got a glass, whether half full, half empty, or completely empty, I think if you've got a glass in your hand, then you're ready when somebody's coming around to top it up. It's fine.
Oh, that's a great note to finish on there. So lastly, in terms of any latest news about what HRH or yourselves up to, or even it's just a case of sharing a website address, feel free to let us know about that now.
Yeah, so you can find us at HRH.com. So you can also see that we're 7 sites now. We've just purchased a new hotel only a few weeks ago over in Whitby. So that's going to be one of our major projects going forward in the year or two ahead. Another hotel that, again, has got great potential but has been underinvested in. So we're going to be putting quite a bit of cash behind that one and turning it around and bringing a Fat Badger restaurant and bar brand over to Whitby, which is fantastic. We also purchased the hotel, a building next to the Guy Fawkes Inn in York, which a lot of people will know, right under the Minster there. That's been one of our properties for over a decade. We were lucky enough to purchase 3 years ago the building next door to that. It's taken 3 years to get planning. It's been the biggest headache ever. I think, in hindsight, would we have bought it if we'd known? But we knew it was grade 1 listed. We knew that there was going to be a few hurdles, but not as many as there has been with working with English Heritage, the planners, to get the planning permission over the line. We finally got that several weeks ago. So we're on with converting that into more bedrooms, extending the beer garden offering to bring something quite special to York. It's in the best location you can find in York, right there under the Minster, and very, very central. And it's a really successful pub and inn. It's a 400-year-old coaching inn. It's already very successful. So to extend that will give us a great opportunity by the end of this year. And also we've got the Black Horse up at Kirby Fleeton, which is a 14-bedroom pub. Last year we bought the farm buildings. We say farm, but they're redundant farm buildings. Haven't actually operated as a farm for many, many years, decades. But some beautiful outbuildings and 8 acres of land at the back. And we're looking at changing that business model to sort of put lodges and luxury lodges, hot tubs, that kind of thing onto the land. A few more bedrooms. and bring something a little bit different. So again, it's like starting to diversify the business a little bit in terms of our accommodation offering from a traditional hotel to something else, and just constantly challenging what we do and and look at new opportunities, really.
Excellent. Exciting times for the business. Lots going
Yeah,
on.
very
I
much.
appreciate you taking the time out and having a chat with us and sharing all that you have, Simon. And I wish you all the best for the future of the business.
Thanks, Mike.